My husband skipped my cancer surgery to attend his fantasy football draft. I recovered without him, then made sure he'd never draft anything again. Not even sympathy. I'm Leah, 36, female, and 3 months ago I had cancer sliced out of my body while my husband was drafting quarterbacks with his buddies. Let that sink in. I was on a hospital gurney, IV hooked to my arm, cold as hell in one of those paper gowns they give you, while the man who swore, in sickness and in health, was in a hotel conference room drinking light beer and screaming about sleeper picks. It wasn't always like this. When I met Matt, 37, male, he was all heart, like, bring you a coffee on your period, call your mom to ask how she's doing kind of heart. He was the guy who walked old ladies to their cars in the rain, the guy who, when we were dating, once drove 4 hours after work just to surprise me with Chinese takeout and a hug. He used to call me his girl, in that sweet, protective way that made me feel safe. That man is long gone. I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer in January. Not the worst kind, not the best either. Just aggressive enough that my doctors wanted to act fast. Mastectomy, followed by chemo, maybe radiation depending on margins. Matt cried with me when we found out. I remember his face in the parking lot outside the oncology clinic, red and blotchy and raw. He held me so tight I thought my ribs would crack. He promised, he'd be there for every appointment, every treatment, every second. We even made a playlist together for my surgery day. It was mostly 90s pop, our inside joke. Britney, Destiny's Child, Spice Girls, stuff we used to dance to drunk in our kitchen. He told me, "You beat this, babe. I'll be right there. We're in this." But then came fantasy football. I didn't even realize his league was planning the draft in person this year. Usually it's online, but apparently one of his friends booked a fancy Airbnb in Tahoe, made it a whole weekend thing. Tradition, Matt said, like it was sacred scripture. When I reminded him my surgery was that Friday, my surgery, he got quiet. Then he said, "I know, babe, but you'll be asleep for most of it. And your mom's already coming, right?" I thought he was joking. He wasn't. My chest felt like it had caved in, and not because of the cancer. I asked, "So you're choosing fantasy football over being there when they cut my body open?" He didn't answer right away, just scratched the back of his neck and said, "It's not like that. I'll fly back first thing Saturday. I'll be with you all weekend. It's just one night. One night. One night while I went under the knife, wondering if I'd wake up with one breast or none. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I just nodded. "Okay," I said, and he actually kissed my forehead like I'd been understanding, like I was some saint for not losing it. My mom held my hand in the pre-op room. She kept her brave face on, but I saw the anger in her jaw. She never liked Matt, but she never said why. That morning, she didn't have to. The surgeon asked if my husband would be joining us before they wheeled me in. I said, "No, he's busy," and I survived without him. But something in me died that day. Not just the tumor, something colder, something that wouldn't heal with stitches. After surgery, it was the silence that hit hardest. Not the physical pain, though, yeah, waking up without a breast is something I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. But the absence, the empty chair, the unopened text, the way my mom sat there, flipping through a People magazine, pretending not to notice that her daughter's husband hadn't even called yet. I came out of anesthesia groggy and nauseous. But the first thing I asked the nurse wasn't about pain meds or drains. It was, "Did Matt call?" She checked her clipboard. "Not yet, hun." That Han stung more than it comforted. I didn't cry. Not then. I just lay there, one breast lighter, staring at the ceiling while my mom held a lukewarm cup of decaf and blinked back fury like it was her full-time job. Matt finally texted at 10:17 p.m. "How'd it go?" "Just got out of the draft. We went late. Hope everything went smooth. Love you." No punctuation on smooth. 3 exclamations after "love you," and that goddamn football emoji. I didn't respond. He didn't call. He didn't ask to talk to me. Didn't ask the hospital room number. Didn't ask if I was in pain or if I needed anything. Just texted like I'd had a teeth cleaning while he played pretend coach with a bunch of guys who still think tight end jokes are funny. When he finally showed up the next morning, bouquet in hand, Starbucks cup, that fake sorry face on, I saw it all like I was watching a play. Not real. Just performance. "Hey, babe," he whispered, like I was fragile. Like we were still us. But we weren't. I looked at him. And I didn't see the guy who drove through a snowstorm once just to kiss me goodnight. I saw a man who thought commitment was flexible, who measured love in weekends and excuses. "You missed it," I said, flat. His face twitched. "I know, you missed it, Matt." My voice cracked. "They put me under. They carved a piece of me out. I woke up screaming for you and you were eating buffalo wings with Nick and Brad." He looked around like he expected my mom to defend him. She didn't. She crossed her arms and stared at him like she was calculating how many ways she could legally eviscerate him with a hospital spoon. Matt stepped forward. "I made a mistake. I don't know. I thought you'd want normalcy, like life not stopping. I didn't think That's the problem, I snapped. You didn't think about me, about what this meant. And then, like a true coward, he cried. Tears. Real ones. Right there, next to the damn IV pump, he started sobbing, saying things like, I hate myself. And I just wanted one last fun weekend, like he was the one who needed comfort. I didn't yell. I just turned to the window and said, you can go now. And he did. But it wasn't over. Not even close. Because the thing about betrayal, it lingers. It festers. And if you're not careful, it starts to whisper things like, burn it all down. And I was very careful. Recovery was slow, brutal, and lonelier than I expected. I had my mom. Thank God for that woman. But otherwise, it was like my world went radio silent. Friends disappeared. Even Matt's parents, who used to comment heart emojis on all our couple photos, went ghost. I didn't even get a text from his mom. Not a, how are you holding up? Not a, do you need anything? I wasn't supposed to lift more than 5 pounds for the first few weeks. No stretching, no pushing, no reaching. My mom stayed on a cot in the living room just so she could be there when I dropped my pain meds or couldn't open a damn bottle of water. Matt, he came by every couple of days, brought food I didn't ask for, left half-finished sentences hanging in the air like smoke. He kept calling me babe, like the word would erase what he'd done. One night, about a week after the surgery, he showed up with sushi. I can't even eat sushi post-op. Immunosuppressed, high risk for infection. But he didn't ask. Just dropped it on the counter, grinning like he deserved points for showing up. I figured you missed real food, he said, kissing the top of my head. I flinched. He pulled back like I'd slapped him. Leah, come on, don't be like this. And something inside me snapped. Be like what, Matt? Recovering from cancer? Or recovering from the fact that my husband abandoned me when I was cut open like a Thanksgiving turkey? His eyes went glossy. Jesus. I've said I'm sorry. How long are you going to punish me? That was the moment I realized something ugly and crucial. He thought this was about forgiveness. He thought time would pass, and we'd go back to normal. Movie nights, pizza Fridays. Maybe he'd plan a cute trip to reconnect once I was healthy again, like a prize for enduring. But he didn't understand that some things don't heal. Some things rot. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just looked him dead in the eyes and said, I'm not punishing you. I'm remembering you. He didn't say anything after that, just stood there for a second, like he was trying to figure out if I meant it. Then he left. The next morning I started a list. Not of revenge, not yet. Just a list of every moment I had picked him over myself. The time I skipped my cousin's wedding because Matt didn't want to go. The raise I turned down because it would have meant traveling without him. The year I planned his birthday party 3 days after my miscarriage because he said he needed the distraction. Every sacrifice. Every quiet swallowing of pain. That list got long fast. And as I sat in bed, still stitched and stapled, unable to even lift my arms high enough to wash my own hair, I stared at that list and thought, never again. Next time he came over, I smiled. Let him think we were turning a corner. Because when you gut a marriage to its bones, you don't patch it up. You burn it for warmth. I started with small things. At first, it wasn't even about revenge. Not consciously. It was about control. Taking back slivers of it wherever I could. Like locking the bathroom door when I showered, even though he still had a key. Like making sure my mom was always home when he visited, because I didn't trust myself not to scream if we were alone. Like wearing that blue robe he hated, the one with the bleach stain on the sleeve, just to remind him this wasn't a performance anymore. This wasn't the Leah who baked cupcakes for his draft party or laughed at his dumb fantasy league group chat. This was the Leah he left behind, the one he underestimated, and he felt it. I saw it. He started trying harder, brought flowers, cleaned my fridge, tried to kiss me once and got my cheek. I think that's when he started to realize he'd lost something, but he still couldn't name it. Then came the night I really understood what kind of man I married. It was a Tuesday. He showed up unannounced, holding takeout from that Thai place I used to love. I let him in, even smiled a little. He clearly took it as progress. Thought we could eat together, he said, setting down the bags. I nodded. I even helped unpack, slow and careful with my healing arms. We sat on the couch, eating in silence. I could feel him itching to say something, like he'd rehearsed a speech in the car and was waiting for the right moment. And then he said it. I've been thinking about doing something big, like a vow renewal. Once you're better, maybe fly to Maui or something. Start fresh. My fork clinked against the plate. A vow renewal? He smiled, proud of himself. Yeah, recommit, like a second chance. I want to show you I'm serious. I stared at him, really stared, and something in me finally clicked. He thinks I'm still his. He thought this would be our redemption arc. Matt, I said slowly, what were our vows? He blinked. What? Our wedding vows. Do you remember them? Yeah. I mean, the usual, right? In sickness and... I cut him off. In sickness and in health. His face paled. He looked down at his plate, suddenly silent. You already broke them, I said, soft but sharp. Why the hell would I let you write new ones? His voice cracked. I made a mistake, okay? I was scared. I didn't know how to handle it. I stood up, ignoring the pull in my stitches. You didn't handle it. You left. You prioritized a fake football league over your wife's life-altering surgery. I didn't need perfection. I needed presence. And you gave me absence dressed up as tradition. He stood too. So what, you're just done with me? I tilted my head. I'm done for now. But I'm not finished. And I meant that. Because here's the thing. Matt may have drafted his dream team that night, but he also drafted his own downfall, and I was just getting warmed up. Update 1. First off, thank you. Seriously, I thought maybe a few strangers on Reddit would give me a pat on the back and that'd be it. But some of y'all went feral. The comments? Unhinged in the best way. I laughed. I cried. I screenshotted so many of them I had to make a whole new photo album on my phone. Special shout out to the person who said I should ship Matt a get well soon card addressed to his dignity. I howled. Also, to the dozens of people who messaged me saying, burn it all down. Well, you're gonna like what happens next. Let me catch you up. After that last conversation with Matt, the vow renewal, the fake tears, the guilt parade, I stopped pretending. I stopped being the calm, graceful, recovering wife. That woman died in the OR. Instead, I started planting seeds, quiet ones. Matt is obsessed with this league. Fantasy football is his personality. These guys, his little kingdom. Their draft weekend is like their sacred pilgrimage. He brags about it for weeks. Designs custom logos. Last year, he made a PowerPoint called Draft-ageddon. Like, he named it. So I started listening more when he talked about it. The commissioner, his friend Scott, is strict about rules. No ghost drafters, no backups, no excuses. If you miss the draft or cheat the league somehow, you get booted. Guess what Matt did during my surgery? Used a backup proxy to make some of his picks while he was in the air. I remembered him mentioning it once. Super casual, like it was no big deal. I had Trey cover the first 2 rounds while I was flying out, he said, brushing it off like it was nothing. So, I emailed Scott. Used a burner Gmail and pretended to be a concerned league member. Attached a screen recording of Matt bragging about it from a stupid TikTok he made. He posted it months ago. Captioned, when you're in the air but still drafting fire. Dumbass. I also included a little clip from his text to me during surgery. Just got out of the draft, we went late. Hope everything went smooth. Love you. Timestamps don't lie. The league takes that seriously. Because they take it seriously. Scott emailed the whole group with the subject, league integrity violation. Matt got kicked out of the league 2 days later. Y'all, you would have thought someone told him his dog died. He came stomping into my apartment like a toddler with a broken toy. Slammed the door, threw his keys, said something like, who the fuck told Scott? I looked up from my tea and said, thought you didn't cheat? He froze. You told me it was no big deal, I added. But I guess when the league finds out, it is a big deal. His face, pure rage, confusion, betrayal, all tangled up. It was beautiful. And you know what he said next? I needed that. After everything we've been through. That was the one thing I still had. Oh, Matt, I used to be the one thing you had too. But you left me for a fake football team. So I left you with exactly what you deserved. Nothing. And we're just getting started. After Matt got kicked from the league, he unraveled like wet tissue paper. Suddenly, the guy who strutted through our apartment with fantasy trophies and dumb catchphrases like Manager of the Year was sitting on my mom's floral couch, Googling how to appeal a league decision like it was a Supreme Court case. He called Scott. Ignored. He texted the group. Radio silence. Then came the real tantrum. He came over 3 nights later, unannounced again. What is it with men and not understanding boundaries? And this time he was shaking, like literal tremors. Said he hadn't slept in 2 days. Couldn't eat. Couldn't think. You don't get it, he kept saying. These guys are my brothers. I just stared at him. He sat on the edge of my coffee table like it might collapse under the weight of his pathetic self-pity and said the most delusional thing I'd ever heard. I feel like I'm being punished for one mistake. One mistake. Skipping my cancer surgery was just a hiccup, a whoopsie, like he'd knocked over a drink at brunch, not emotionally abandoned his wife during the scariest moment of her life. I didn't even reply. I just handed him the manila envelope I'd been holding onto for a week, his name on the front. One word written in bold marker, divorce. He blinked, like he didn't understand what language I was speaking. Leah, come on, you're not serious. Oh, I'm dead serious, I said. He opened it. Inside were the preliminary papers. I'd spoken to a lawyer, gotten my ducks in a row. All that was left was his signature and the process would begin. This isn't you, he whispered, holding the pages like they were toxic. No, I said. This is the version of me that's done pretending pain doesn't change people. He stood up, jaw clenched. You're blowing up our whole life over fantasy football? I laughed. Actually laughed. That dry, brittle, you can't be serious kind of laugh. No, Matt, I'm blowing it up over reality. You just never noticed because you were too busy living in your imaginary fucking league. He tried again. The voice, the soft hands. The old Matt peeked through. The one who used to sing to me in the car, rub my feet after work, build IKEA furniture without a meltdown. We can fix this, but I'd already fixed it. I'd taken back the power he stole with his absence. I'd rewritten the story he thought we were living in. You already drafted your team, I said coldly. This is just me making the final trade. He didn't cry that night. He screamed, threw the envelope, knocked over a lamp, started pacing like a man possessed. My mom came in from the kitchen, calm as hell, and said, "If you break one thing in this house, I'll break your face." God, I love that woman. Matt stormed out, but not before yelling, "You'll regret this, Leah. No one's going to love you like I did." I whispered back, "God, I hope not." And that was the night I stopped mourning him. The grief burned away, and what was left? Rage, cold, clear, and weaponized. Next stop, public humiliation. Because it's not revenge if no one sees it. I always knew Matt cared more about perception than reality. He curated our marriage like an Instagram grid. Smiling couple selfies, hashtag date nights, charity 5Ks where he'd run just fast enough to get tagged but not sweaty enough to ruin the photo. The man didn't want a wife. He wanted a brand extension, so that's what I targeted next. Matt had been nominated for this local Men Who Give Back feature in a regional lifestyle magazine. I know, ironic, apparently volunteering at a dog shelter twice and donating once to a friend's GoFundMe qualified him as a philanthropist. He was obsessed with it, kept practicing his quote for the article like it was a campaign speech. I believe real leadership means showing up even when it's hard. That was the line. He kept saying it. Ironic, right? Here's where things got delicious. The magazine contacted me for a small spouse spotlight, just a paragraph, a quote, something simple to paint the happy couple portrait. They sent me the draft and asked for a sentence or two about what made Matt special, so I gave them this. Matt showed me that true character isn't built in easy seasons. It's revealed when someone you love is at their most vulnerable. Some men rise to that moment. Others choose fantasy over reality. No curse words, no accusations, just enough truth to make it sting. The editor actually called me to clarify. Is this sarcastic? I think it's honest, I said, cool as ice. They printed it, full-page spread. Matt's grinning face next to a quote about leadership, and directly underneath, my words. He lost his mind. I know this because his coworker sent me a video, bless her chaotic little soul, of Matt flipping out in the break room, throwing the magazine, screaming, "She made me look like a monster." No, Matthew, you made you look like a monster. I just turned the lights on. He showed up at my apartment again a few days later, eyes wild, reeking of beer and desperation. My mom had gone back home by then, so it was just me. "I can't believe you'd humiliate me like that," he shouted. "You mean tell the truth?" I said. He started crying, real, messy sobs this time. Sat on the floor like his legs had stopped working. "You were my whole life." And for a second, I'll admit it, I felt a flicker of something. Pity? Nostalgia? I don't know. But it passed fast. Because then he looked up and said the line that snapped it all into place. "If I had known you'd react like this, I would have just lied." That was it. That was Matt in a sentence. If I had known you'd have boundaries, I would have been sneakier. If I had known you'd grow a spine, I would have controlled you better. If I had known you'd leave me, I would have never let you think you could. I stood up, walked to the door, opened it. "You don't get to sit in my pain and call it yours," I said. He left. But the fallout wasn't done. Because 2 days later, his mom showed up on my porch with tears and a casserole. I let her in. And what she told me? Let's just say the next update isn't about Matt. It's about his other life. Update 2. So Matt's mom shows up on my doorstep holding one of those Pyrex casseroles like it's a white flag. She's trembling, visibly shaken, not wearing makeup for the first time in forever. I let her in, not because I wanted to see her, but because she looked like she'd seen a ghost. We sit. She doesn't touch her coffee, just keeps staring at the casserole like it might detonate. Then she says, "I need to tell you something before you hear it from someone else." I braced myself. Thought maybe she found out about the divorce, or the league scandal. Maybe she wanted to beg me to take him back. Pull the whole "he's a good boy" deep down routine. Nope. Instead, she tells me that while cleaning out Matt's old childhood storage bins, she found something weird. A box tucked behind his baseball trophies and graduation cords. Inside, letters, love letters. Not from me, from a woman named Amber. At first she thought it was just some old high school fling. But the dates? They were from last year, this year. Some even during my chemo consultations. They were explicit. And worse, they had photos. One of them was taken outside my oncologist's office. Date stamped the same day Matt claimed he was stuck at work and couldn't make it. In the photo, he's holding hands with Amber, grinning like a damn teenager skipping school. His mom was sobbing by this point, saying she was sorry, saying she had no idea, saying she raised him better. I couldn't even speak, not because I was shocked he cheated. Deep down, some part of me always knew. The absence wasn't just emotional. It had a smell, a weight. a coldness you can't fake. But seeing it confirmed, it was like someone shoved ice into my chest cavity and sealed it shut. Here I was, blaming fantasy football, when it wasn't fantasy at all. It was another life, another woman, another world I didn't know about. His mom left the box with me. I spent the whole night going through it. Emails, receipts, a concert ticket from a show he said he was too tired to attend with me, a postcard from a hotel in Palm Springs, our anniversary weekend, mind you. And here's the kicker. Amber had written, "Can't wait to draft you forever," on the back of it. Draft you. Oh, the fussing symbolism. That's when the plan changed. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was about ruin. I don't want Matt to lose a game. I want him to lose the whole season. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the kitchen table under that flickering overhead light, the one Matt never got around to fixing, with the box of his second life spread out in front of me like evidence from a crime scene. Because that's what it was, really. A slow, methodical killing of everything we built. Every hotel receipt, every love note with lipstick kisses, every time-stamped photo was another wound. But this time, I didn't bleed. I burned. I'd already taken his team, already taken his league. Now, I wanted to take something he couldn't replace with a new draft or another lie: his reputation. Matt works for a mid-sized marketing firm. They brand themselves as family first, values-driven, full of those dumb "we're a team" slogans plastered across their website next to awkward stock photos of diverse high-fives. It's a whole vibe. And Matt? He's one of their rising stars. Got featured in their newsletter last fall for launching a regional ad campaign about breast cancer awareness. Let that one sink in. I found the email address for their HR department, and then I sent a packet. No return address, just the facts. A neat little dossier. The photo of him holding hands with Amber on the day of my consultation. Screenshots of his texts telling me he couldn't emotionally handle being in hospitals. A scan of the postcard where Amber wrote, "Can't wait to draft you forever." A timeline, painstakingly accurate, comparing my treatment dates with his cheating travel receipts. And a final note that said, "If this is the kind of man you spotlight for women's health campaigns, you might want to revise your messaging." 2 days later, he was pulled into a meeting. I know because his assistant, who follows me on Instagram and has always hated him, DM'd me. "Girl, HR just dragged him in and closed the blinds. He looked like someone died." And in a way, someone did. The version of Matt who could coast through life on charm and deflection, gone. He tried calling me that night, left a voicemail, his voice hoarse and cracking. "You've made your point, Leah. Please, I'm begging you. Stop." That's when I realized something. He still thought this was about a point. He didn't get it. I wasn't making a point. I was drawing a map, one red flag at a time, showing him and everyone else exactly where he went wrong and how far he'd have to crawl just to see daylight again. And the final stop was Amber. Because guess who had no idea he was still married? I found her Instagram, public, full of filtered brunches and gym selfies, and one photo in particular from that Palm Springs trip, captioned, "Found my forever teammate." I messaged her. Simple, polite, deadly. "Hey Amber, I thought you should know your forever teammate was already on a team. I was his wife. He missed my cancer surgery to be with you. Want the receipts?" Within an hour, she blocked me. But not before viewing every single photo I'd tagged Matt in from the last year. And 2 days later, Matt moved out of his apartment and into his brother's basement. You know what he posted on Facebook? A quote graphic. "Sometimes we don't realize what we have until it's gone. Oh, Matt, you never had me. You had my patience. And now, you don't even have that." A month after the final blow landed, I stood in front of my mirror and didn't recognize the woman staring back. Not because she looked unfamiliar, but because, for the first time in years, she looked whole. No wigs, no makeup, no illusion of holding it together. Just me. Scars, sharpness, strength, all of it out in the open. Matt was officially gone. Signed the divorce papers without ceremony. Didn't even try to bargain this time. No begging, no flowers. No, "I'll change." Maybe because he finally understood that the version of me who'd once waited for him to show up didn't exist anymore. And thank God for that. I burned the wedding album. Not symbolically, literally. I took it to the backyard, set it on the grill, and lit a match. Watched the pages curl and blacken, the photos blistering like skin. One by one, our memories turned to ash. The fake smiles, the filtered trips, the beach photo where I thought he loved me, the anniversary dinner where he'd already started sleeping with Amber, all of it gone. I kept only one thing, a single, untouched Polaroid from our honeymoon. Not because I wanted to remember him, but because I wanted to remember me. The girl in the photo was happy, open, still soft around the edges. She died quietly over the years, under the weight of small dismissals and unspoken betrayals. The death blow didn't come from a slap or a scream. It came from an empty chair in a hospital room, a football emoji and a text, and the cold realization that he didn't see me as real. But I came back, different, sharper, wiser. Now, here's the sweetest part of it all. Matt's little fantasy football league, they've officially replaced him. Not just kicked him out, but replaced him with someone they all love, a woman. Turns out Scott's sister had been asking to join for years, but Matt always vetoed it. We're keeping it traditional, he said. Translation: no girls allowed. She took his old spot. Won the league this year. Guess what her team name is? Team Leah. Scott sent me a screenshot with the caption, "For what it's worth, he'll never draft again. Not even sympathy." And now, I'm here. I'm living. I started volunteering at the same cancer center where I was treated. I walk women through pre-op nerves, chemo side effects, and the awful silence of abandonment. Because I know it, intimately. And every time I tell my story, someone cries. Not for me, with me. It's not pity, it's power. Shared rage, shared grief, and yeah, shared healing. Matt might have skipped my surgery, but he showed me the tumor that really needed removing. Him. And I cut that out with precision. So here I am, healed, unhusbanded, and unbothered. Because the only draft I care about now is the cool breeze on my skin as I walk forward, scarred and stunning, into a life he'll never be part of again.